This ligustrum is way overgrown, and I'm going to find a way to get inside the middle and cut from the inside rather the outside. So starting to shade out all these plants. I can get it out. Shake it like a small tree. Inside there is pretty empty. Down there's what will make the trunk come out. All these branches that don't have any leaves, they're all coming out. There's no point in having them. They just make it messy. Oh, but wait, what do we have here? There's a bird's nest. If this is active, I'm not gonna trim the tree. See anything going on there? Looks like it's done. Like maybe an old nest. I think I don't want to disturb any nesters. It looks like a little dove's nest, but they've already left the nest. Let's check the rest of the tree. I think there might be one on the other side. I'll check when I get over there. Since I've seen doves and mockingbirds both rebuild or reuse a nest from a previous year, I decided to remove this nest just for me to complete this task, and then I put it back once I was done. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't remove something that the birds could potentially still use, even though I know they have left for this season. This part of the job involves cleaning out around the base and some of the surrounding plant areas just to create a good access to the trunk portion of the tree that we want to keep. This part of the project is not something that I was able to finish in one afternoon. I actually broke it up into like couple hour blocks at a time so I could take a break, because it is actually a really dirty job. It's time consuming, it's tedious, and it's just something that you can get burned out on really quick, and you don't want to set yourself up for failure. This is one of those things that's okay if it takes you several days or maybe even a few weeks to finish, because you want this to come out right. So when you're working on a tree or bush or shrub that's this size and you're doing a project like this, the best way to approach it is to get comfortable. This is not the kind of project that you try to do standing up and squatting down and bending over, because you will break your back and the cuts will not come out as good because you won't be as stable, and your vision is not as good. You can't really see what you're doing from looking down from that view above. So by being inside or underneath the shrub, you can really get a good idea. And sitting down just allows you to take your time and get things from the best angle, because that, to me, the results are going to be much more beneficial than if you're just trying to wing it and reach down and cut, because you cannot get flush cut if you're not at the right angle. That's another common mistake that I see a lot, is people just cutting wherever they can reach just to get rid of the branch. Like, say they don't like this branch right here, so they're like, oh, I don't want this branch, they'll just do this. Okay, that branch is gone. So up top it may look good, but right here they've created the problem, and what's going to happen right here is they've just told the plant, hey, I want you to put out more leaves right here, and there's going to become a big bush right here. So we don't want that. So the way to do that is to make sure you can get in there and get a nice flush clean cut, or as clean as possible. And this was a really tight spot, but there's no better angle that I could do standing up than sitting down. Sealer on there, and now we won't have extra growth come out right there. I'm gonna clean out this one. And sometimes you can go and make all your cuts and come back and seal it. However, I usually miss some when that happens, and I don't always carry the sealer with me. So I don't want to have to see something that I missed later on. So I just cut, seal, cut, seal, cut, seal. That's the method I use. Cut, seal, cut, seal. Now these branches up here, the ones that I can just pull off at 180, these are not going to need to be sealed. For some reason, if you can pull them off to where it's flush like this with the branch that they're coming off of, or stem, then like 90% of the time or 95% of the time, they're not going to grow back. So here's another branch right here. So this one I'm not going to be able to get flush because of where it is. It's kind of growing out at base underneath the ground. So I'm just going to cut as low as I can, remove it, and then seal it. So when the sealer dries, it looks a little shiny, just like you would expect Elmer's glue to, but it doesn't stay shiny. And even if it did stay shiny, I would still choose it, because it's better than looking at suckers. I'd rather see a little shiny spot than look at suckers. And I'm stacking the cuttings right behind the tree on the ground, because again, we're low on mulch here. Oh, this is one that I want to just take off completely. So there's a weird looking moth crawling right there. Okay. Any branches that just pop off like that are dead. They need to be trimmed anyway. Here's a couple more little suckers that I can't get the very base of. I'll cut them as low as I can and treat them. And I believe this is supposed to last 6 months. I believe that's what it says on the bottle or somewhere. However, I pretty much don't expect it to last 6 months. I'm happy with 4, and that's what I expect. So somewhere between the 3 and 4 month mark, some suckers might start to appear. Not all of them, but some. And at that point, it's really easy to get under control, and they're much easier to manage from that aspect of having already done this one time than what it would look like 3 or 4 months from now without this. So it would just be a big shrub under here within a month without doing this. So there's another bigger one that I want to get in the front. So let me move my towel around. So one way to make sure that I'm comfortable under here and not rushing is I come prepared with everything I need, and I always have a towel to sit on. I know about those garden mats, but they're never big enough, and I don't like the texture of them. If I'm on the concrete and I need to sit down, I'll use them. I have some. This situation, I do use a kneeler sometimes, but it's too bulky to fit under here, so this is what I'm doing now. Okay, so the next cut that we need to do is this next right here. Put this in, put some sealer. So before I educated myself about what the sealer really does, when people would talk about sealing, I thought the purpose of sealing was just to stop disease from getting in. So I figured if you just make the cuts right, you don't have to worry about diseases from getting in the cut edge. But then once I read about it, I realized it actually has a growth regulating hormone in it that prevents suckers. That is worth doing. Here. Okay, this is my stopping point for today. I'll come back in about a week, see what suckers are growing out, and stomp on all those extra branches so they can be mulch. I'm not going to even bother hauling them out. Just let the leaves die where they are. But the amount of sunlight that is going to come in here is going to make such a difference for these roses, salvia, and that sage, and all these other plants will be able to grow more upright and evenly with having that gap open right there. And it's just healthier to have more airflow, so that's another benefit of cleaning out the bottom. Okay, so it's been a little over a week, maybe 10 days since I started trimming this tree and got the base of it shaped out for the trunk portion. And all the cuttings that I left behind, you can see, have already basically disappeared and turned into mulch. And the plants in front already look healthier to me. I can see that they're actually getting more sun and filling in. So I just think that the next step of this is to shape the top a little bit better because it is looking a little scraggly. And I'm going to use my hedge trimmers to come in and do that. I'm not trying to make it perfect. I just want to come in and clean it up and give it just a better shape. But I still want to keep it natural. I'm not going for anything formal here. So I'm just going to shape this up a teeny bit. It's not so heavy. Not making a perfect ball or anything. I'm just making it a little more balanced. And I'm leaving all these cuttings on the ground for mulch because we are short on mulch. Okay. The Ligustrum is very forgiving. That is a little better. Well, here is my end result so far. It is a very good scale for this spot. It is so much better than the monster that it was. It had just gotten so overgrown the past couple years because I wasn't sure what to do with it, but I'm really glad that I took this on. Here's another look at before and after of this Ligustrum shrub. I am so happy that I did this, and I hope this video gives somebody the courage to try something like this on their own.